Yeah, okay.
I can see it.
So this will be really interactive tonight. So Joseph and I don't know if you go by Joe or Jared. You guys can stay off of mute if you want and just stop Kaylee and ask us questions if you got anything as we go. But it's a pretty short presentation too. So
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining. It really means a lot. So my name is Kaylee McGinn. I'm with Boulder Construction Company, and I am here to talk about virtual career fairs and how to prepare for them, how to go about them the day of the career fair, and how to follow up after the fact. So let's see this. So this is going to kind of give us our agenda for this meeting or this session. So we're going to focus on the plan ahead, of course, how to prepare for the career fair, especially the one that's happening not this Friday, but next, what to do the day of the career fair, and then how to follow up after the career fair. So one thing I'm going to talk about a lot is your top five. So when we throw that term around a lot, so the first thing that I want you guys to think about when it comes to picking a company or picking a career path is to think about your top five values. What are the 5 things that make you want to work for a company? Because when we're done with college and we're graduating and we're going to take those full-time offers, you're going to be working for another 40 or so years. That's just the fact of the matter. And when you go to work, you want to be excited about it. You don't want to feel like you're just going to a job to get a paycheck. And in order to feel that fulfillment, you're going to need your company to also fulfill your 5 values. So figure out what those 5 values are for you, and then try to find companies that correspond to those. So don't just pick some random company that has a random booth at a career fair, or I guess an empty line on the virtual career fair, but to focus on some companies that you know really get you excited about the construction industry. So again, talking about our top 5 values, these are some of the values that I had while I was in college. I was really interested in a company for their industry, their company size, their opportunities, their location, and their culture. And so kind of what I mean by those is by industry, are you interested in doing hard civil? Are you interested in doing commercial? Are you interested in doing aviation, football stadiums, things like that? It's not very often that you find one person that's just interested in all of them. If you say that's you, I kind of ask you to kind of dig into yourself a little bit deeper and try to figure out if that's true, and try to figure out which industries really get you excited. The company size, do you want to work for a large company or do you want to work for a smaller company? Sometimes with the company size comes the opportunity. So are you more excited to stay in the same town and kind of be able to build a home there and work and live there, or are you interested in a bigger company that might be able to take you overseas or different parts of the country? Location, or again, are you interested in staying close to home? Are you interested in moving across the United States? And then the culture, do these companies do things outside of work? Are they very focused on like keeping their head down and getting the work done? Things of that nature. And again, all of these are different for other people. So just kind of figure out what you find valuable in a company. So a lot of these values also are basically represent you in some way, shape, or form. These are the things that you find important. The other things that represent you is your resume. So I know some people might have heard this before, but when I was in college, it was very common to have multiple resumes that kind of reflect different industries that they were applying to. So if you're applying for more of a hard civil position, your resume might look different than if you were trying to apply for a company that was doing corporate commercial construction. So sure, your past history might look the same, but if you're interested in a company that offers some type of culture aspect, maybe mention more about your outside of school extracurriculars and see if that sparks conversation, and things of that nature. Another big thing that represents you is your elevator pitch. So again, it's totally fine to have multiple elevator pitches that represent different industries that you're applying to. And it's always great to include, like, in your elevator pitch, parts that excite you that might not just relate to work. So maybe things that got you into that industry in the first place, maybe something from your childhood, or what you're working on in senior design or working on in your classes at Purdue that might not have been something that you did in your internship. So for example, if I was really interested in doing hard civil, but all my internships were incorporating corporate construction, I might mention that my senior design project was highly focused in heavy civil, and that I might have participated in these clubs that did things in heavy civil. And although my internships were in corporate commercial construction, that I was more interested in the infrastructure and the hardscape and things like that. So just kind of develop your resume and your elevator pitch. I think one other thing that's really important to mention here is the energy that you bring to the career fair is also a big thing that we remember you guys by. So at the end of the day, after everybody leaves, we have your resume and your elevator pitch that we might remember, but we also remember the energy that you bring. So always be excited when you come and talk to us. Also, you have your top 5 companies. So when I was at Purdue, these were some of my top 5 companies. So I had Holder, of course, Webcor, Mortensen, Messer, and FH Fashion. When you have your top 5 companies, it's very obvious that you should research them, look them up, have an idea of who they are, where they work, the type of work that they do, and come up with 5 questions to ask all of these companies. They can be unique per company, so maybe you're researching something about Webcor and something really intrigued you, but that question might not relate to Mortensen, and that's totally fine. And it's also totally fine to have all your 5 questions be the same 5 questions that you can ask all of them. So if I go back to my 5 values with like industry, company size, opportunity, location, culture, those could relate to my 5 questions as well. Like, I see that you guys are growing. What's the opportunities in the future for like new hires? What's the opportunities for summer internships? I'm really interested in being in Arizona. Do you offer any positions in the Arizona area? Tell me a little bit about your culture, things like that. Why do you love working for that company? Those are all great questions to ask a recruiter at a career fair. The other thing about planning ahead is looking at your week going into that day. So if your Friday, which is career fair day, is very heavy, try to move some of those assignments. So pretend that the assignments are due earlier, so that you're not so distracted and bogged down with that on that career fair day. If you have meetings, see if you can miss them, have someone else represent you, cancel them, what you have to do to, again, clear your day. If your day is clear, your mind's clear, and you're going to be able to focus easier on the conversations you're having with the recruiters and so on and so forth. Another big thing is come to the career fair early. Again, with your top 5 companies, like you should be taking the initiative to talk to those top 5 companies first. So kind of figure out the ones that you want to talk to, because if you come early, you're going to be full of energy, so are the recruiters, and there's going to be a greater likelihood that they're going to remember you. So again, just clear your day. So here's some of the plan ahead checklist. At the end of this, I'll offer you guys a worksheet that kind of goes through this presentation, the points from this presentation again, and kind of offers like a little check mark box next to them just to kind of run through it all again. So again, do your research, know your top 5 companies, make sure your resume is up to date, make sure your elevator pitch is up to date, both for your resume and your elevator pitch. It would be awesome if you could run that by someone else to get some feedback from them. Always have your top 5 questions ready. And again, clear your day. So the next thing that we're going to jump into is the day of the career fair. So this is all different for all of us now that it's virtual. And so from the career fair that we went through in the fall, yep.
I was going to pause for a second. Do y'all have any questions before we move to?
No, I'm good. The only question I would have is there one specific or any specific questions that you guys value in terms of like student asking?
That's a great question.
That is a great question. I know that one question that I really value is when they ask me why I picked that company, because we were all really one time too, and so I like to give that wisdom of what check boxes Holder filled for me compared to other companies. But yeah, Shanna and Kat, do you guys have any questions that really spark your interest?
I like that one too, Kaylee. That's always a good one. The question that I like to ask to learn a little bit more about you guys too, is why construction? So not only just like why are you picking Holder or whatever other company too, but what got you guys interested and really passionate about wanting to pursue a career in construction? Because I like answering that back too, especially not coming from I came from civil engineering, which isn't completely construction related. So I like kind of seeing where people's paths have landed them.
Yeah, and I think another thing, like at least at Holder, which I think goes for construction as well, you know, you're always kind of a continual, learner, right? And so I think asking some sort of question on, what's Holder's culture on training and development, right? Because I think, I think that shows us, right, like you're kind of a continual, seeker of information and, learning construction, right? And then, that you're concerned about your development, right? And there's never a point, I think, that you've arrived, right? You're always a learner and you're always trying to seek out, information. And, I think taking a peek at what a company's culture is on training and development of their people is eye-opening as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. All righty. So now we'll move in to the day of the career fair. So I know that this is all going to be new for us again, just like it was in the fall, but these are some of the pointers that we took away from the fall career fair with it being virtual. So a big thing is make sure your camera and microphone are working. They're in working order. We can see you, we can hear you, because obviously we don't have the privilege to interact with you in person. And so this is the best way that we're going to hear your voice, see your face, and make that connection. The next thing is being mindful of your background. Don't have a TV going on in the background. Even if we can't hear it, we can see the screen, messy beds, stuff like that. We don't really want to see those things. So if you can, try to get a solid background the best you can. If not, a lot of video conferencing apps and web browsers now allow you to mute your background. Always dress the part, even if it's from the waist up. Act like you are going to either the actual career fair, so on and so forth. Don't come in a sweatshirt, wearing a t-shirt, messy hair, so on and so forth. We still want you to look professional because we are still having a professional conversation. And your outfit can definitely set the mood. Bring the energy. So we know that you've been sitting in front of a computer all day, just like we've been sitting in front of a computer all day. So my biggest advice is between talking to companies, maybe stand up, do a couple jumping jacks, maybe walk outside. I know it's cold up there. Get a glass of water, go have like a 5-minute conversation with a roommate, decompress maybe, do whatever you can to kind of freshen the load and come to the next recruitment line with some type of energy.
Hey, Kaylee, I was going to say on that point, I've been with Holder for 12 years and I've been to many, many interview presentations to go win, multi-million-dollar jobs, right? And the professional advice that we get, we pay these people lots of money to come in and tell us how to present professionally. And they tell us to go in the bathroom and do jumping jacks before the presentation. Okay. So, if the experts are telling you that, right, I think it's a great piece of advice to get the energy out. You got to get rid of it somehow. And I think jumping jacks or a walk around the room, around, your building, I think it's really, I use it all the time when I get the jitters. So I think it's a great piece of advice.
Awesome. And then the last one that I have here is take notes. So if you ever talk to a holder recruiter, especially at the career fair, we try to do a pretty good job of taking notes after we're done talking to you, because we want to be engaged in that conversation, but we also want to bring down pointers about our conversation that's important to you and to us. So my advice is that you do something similar. And if you are going to take a note, maybe mention that, hey, that was really important to me. I want to jot that down really quick, because if not, it's kind of awkward if we're just watching you write some notes. But always take notes, especially after, about a few things that I'll talk about a little bit later. But again, just how you're feeling. Those values that we talked about at the beginning, is that company fulfilling those values for you? Is this company kind of meeting those check marks on the questions that you have laid out? So just jot down some notes after. So here's some examples on how the career fair could go. So if you don't have your camera on, your microphone's a little fuzzy, you have an unmade bed in the background, you're wearing a rock and roll shirt, you look half awake because you woke up maybe 20 minutes before, your phone might be on vibrate, but it's on the table and it's constantly going off, and you're not taking notes or really even looking like you're interested. And this is how we take it from our side. So we're having difficulty connecting with you because we can't see you, or having a hard time understanding you. Your bed in the background is distracting to us. If you're not dressing professional, then you're just not being professional. You look half awake, shows us that you didn't really care. You didn't take the time to get prepared. If your phone's constantly vibrating, you have better things to do. Again, it's another big distraction for us. And if you're not taking or looking interested, then we obviously think you are uninterested. So again, this is kind of the day of checklist. So don't hide. Make sure your camera's on. Make sure your background is muted or not distracting. Dress the part. Bring the energy. Limit the distractions and take notes. Do you guys have any questions about the day of the career fair? Or any pointers that you want to bring up?
Yeah, real quick. When you say dressed apart, do you have to be in a suit and tie, would you say, or polo, or what would you say is best?
So, I mean, if you were to wear a suit and tie to the actual career fair, then all power to you. Go for it. I'm totally fine with someone just wearing a really nice button-down, semi-formal type of outfit. So that's kind of what I mean by that. It's kind of dress how you would if you were planning on physically being at the career fair. Don't dress up as if you're bouncing back and forth between classes and maybe jumping into a line or two in the virtual career fair.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think a couple of pointers too. You can look on a company's website, right, and kind of see the formality that they have. I think if you're ever unsure, probably go on the dressier part, right? And you got to think about literally everybody around you is your competition too, right? So if somebody's wearing a suit and tie, it's might not be a terrible idea, right? And it's a little easier now. You're not jumping from class to the career fair, right? So you could, it's a little easier for you to throw something on the camera. So again, though, I think, it's your first impression, right? So what is I guess it's, turn around back to you guys too, right? What's the first impression you want to make, right? Yeah. So it's a little subjective, but like I said, always err maybe on the dressier side to be a little more formal.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Because you got to think too, I mean, if you come into an office for a, company interview, it's a suit and tie typically. And so this is kind of a mini interview, right?
Right.
It's a good question. Any other questions?
Awesome. That was a good one. All right, so now we're going to focus on the follow-up. So you talked to a few recruiters, it all went well. Now it's time to send that email. So when you're talking at the career fair, obviously always ask for the contact information or follow-up contact information. I know that we can't physically give you any of our cards anymore, but we can obviously just send you our email pretty easily. So when you send those emails, mention something unique about your guys' conversation. I don't want to sound rough when I say this, but we do talk to a lot of people, and so it can get a little hard to remember exactly who you were, especially since we don't have those in-person connections and face-to-face conversations like we used to. So if you guys talked specifically about you wanting to take up a position in Arizona, working in the estimation department, maybe mention in your email that you were really excited to hear about estimation happening in Arizona and something of that nature. And then also let us know if you have any other offers or deadlines of any sort. It really hurts us when we really are excited about you, we're getting ready to offer you, and you come back and be like, hey, I actually took up an offer last week because I didn't know where you guys were at. I didn't know if I was getting an offer. So I went ahead and did this because I knew it was an opportunity that was safe for me. So always communicate your deadlines and your other offers with the companies that you're interested in. And then, like I said before, you're taking notes the day of. Remember your top 5 values, remember your top 5 companies, and think about the ones that still ring true, like which values and companies you still feel great about and are things that you still highly value, and be real with yourself and veto out the ones that don't. This way, when you go to the next career fair, you have either a replenished top 5 values, and now you can seek a new set of 5 companies, and you're not starting from the beginning each and every time. So yeah, that is I don't know why that says plan ahead, it should say follow up, but that's kind of the follow up checklist. So email, if you have a LinkedIn, it doesn't hurt to connect with your recruiter on LinkedIn. That way we can kind of have a better idea of who you are. We can see a little bit more of your past experiences, maybe the types of posts that you choose to reshare, and we can keep up with your career development if you do end up taking an internship or a full-time offer somewhere else. And then again, always review your top 5. Do you guys have any questions about the follow-up? Awesome. So
yeah,
right here,
I have one question actually. Sorry.
Awesome. No, you're good.
On LinkedIn, like I personally don't really use LinkedIn very often. Should I get more active on LinkedIn?
Well, that was what I was going to ask Jared and Joseph. You guys want to spend a minute, and we'll answer that question in a second. Will you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves? And, I think one of you, and I'm not sure, I remember now, was in CEM and one was in CMT, right? And just like what year you are and I think that'll help us shed light maybe of where you guys are at too on a few things. And then we'll answer your question about LinkedIn. It's a great question.
Yeah, I first started off in civil engineering, and I went through the first year engineering program and into sophomore year, and then realized I didn't want to do the physics side of things. Instead, I actually wanted to be involved in the physical construction, whether or not I was on the more technical side of things or more in the field. I didn't necessarily care, but I wanted to be more hands-on with the actual project as opposed to just being an engineer. So I'm a junior now.
Okay. You moved from engineering, you said, to construction management.
I was in civil engineering and moved to construction management early last year, and now it's my third semester in construction management.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm currently a junior in construction engineering and management. Yeah, so last summer I was scheduled to work with a company up in Chicago, but due to COVID, it was canceled. So currently I'm just looking for an internship and
Cool.
needed tips.
And
Yeah.
you said you're a junior too?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so I don't know, Kaylee or Kat, if you feel passionate about the LinkedIn question, but I can field it if you want.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Shannon, I'll add.
Okay. So LinkedIn, I think it's a good place, at least myself. I've been doing this for a few years, and it's nice to kind of, like Kaylee said, to create kind of your professional space, right? And it is a great connection point for your recruiter, you know, to learn more about you, and down the road too. I mean, you make these connections at a career fair, and it's very interesting how construction is such a small world. And so keeping up with LinkedIn, you know, even if you don't spend too much time on it, right? Like I don't spend too much time on it by any means, but I think having your basic profile filled out of like where you went to school, your internships, your picture, right? I think that at least from holders' perspective, I mean, if we're trying to seek somebody out, you know, that's typically where we're going. I don't know, Kaylee or Kat, if you have any other opinions on that, but I think a basic, I get frustrated as a recruiter if I can't find somebody's profile, if I'm like trying to find a little bit more information on them. So I think it's a good, just spend, you know, an hour kind of filling it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I would completely agree, Shayna. Especially too, like Kaylee mentioned before, since we're not physically in person, we want to remember your face a little bit, right? And it's so easy to like think of who you're talking to, but then whenever you're looking at the resume, you're like, man, I wish I could see them again and put that name to a face. And so that's where LinkedIn helps us as well, just so we remember who we talk to. But I know a lot of companies and a lot of classes like push to have all this different stuff on LinkedIn, but don't feel overwhelmed on LinkedIn. And because like Shannon said too, we're looking and we're seeing your past experience and internships, but it doesn't have to be like hours and hours of you making your profile perfect.
I spent an hour in college, and I've probably maintained it an hour since.
Yeah.
So, it's just a good kind of baseline to have your name out there, I think, and put your resume out there, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes life a lot easier for sure.
I think too, just you know, social media is out there, right? So if I can't find somebody on LinkedIn, I might go to Facebook, right, and search them. So I think you know, don't change who you are, right? But it's something to be thinking about with social media, right? typing in somebody's name, it's very interesting what comes up, right? So just thinking about that, consciously as y'all post things, right? I mean, as a company, we don't go digging for stuff, right? But it's out there. So that's who you are, right? That's, it's represented on, social media. So just, it's maybe not a bad idea sometimes to go just through that and do a quick search and see what you find.
Right. Kind of back off of that. Like if I were to search your name Google and your LinkedIn profile comes up, that's just one more account that you got to control and one more line item that pops up on the front page of Google that you have a say in, and is professional and things like that. So obviously your other social media, you should always be a little bit mindful. I mean, Holder isn't really one to go try to find your Instagram or your Twitter and stuff like that. I can't speak upon other companies, but we don't really do that at all. But again, your LinkedIn isn't just another social media account that you get to represent yourself the way that you feel like you should be represented. And again, it'll pop up on the front page of Google. Cool. So up on the screen, I have a QR code for feedback. So again, I just kind of really went at it for what we expect from those that attend career fairs, but we want to hear about what you expect from recruiters, especially when it comes from the virtual side of things or just in general. We're learning too, just like you guys are learning. So if you can, just take some time and open up that survey and fill it out for us. I also have a worksheet for you guys to work on, but for some reason, or not to work on, but you could work on it. For some reason, I can't upload it into the chat for this meeting or session. So I'll just be sure to get that information out to.
I was gonna say, do you guys want to throw your email in the chat at least, and we can email it to you tonight?
Yeah, for sure.
In the email now. Awesome. Thank you guys. Do you have
any initial
comments?
Sorry, go ahead, Kaylee.
Sorry, I was just asking if they had any last minute questions or comments or anything.
Yeah, I have one.
Yep.
What's your thoughts on messaging like recruiters on LinkedIn before a career fair? Do you think that helps or makes a difference whatsoever?
That's a good question. I feel like it couldn't hurt. Is my response to that. I mean, it gives me an idea of who's expecting to come, and it allows me to see your name twice or see your face twice, which then allows me to have a better chance of remembering the conversation that we have at the career fair, because if I see that so-and-so has messaged me and already introduced themselves, and then at the career fair they come and talk to me, it's not like I'm meeting them for the first time, and maybe we can talk about some other things in more detail. So I would say that it wouldn't hurt to go and do those things. Shannon, do you guys have, or Kat, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I agree that it doesn't hurt. When you guys see the career fair and you see it on Simplicity that we're using, do you see like our emails attached to, or how did you reach out to people in the past career fair? Because we're still learning from this too, so I just would like your feedback.
Yes, usually you'll have the email available on the Simplicity.
So you see the company that you want to talk to and then who's going to be recruiting from them for that day?
After you talk to them in the interview, it'll like show you who you talk to and have the email available.
Yep. Yeah, definitely agree for the follow-up too. That makes a huge difference. Like if you're really passionate about a company, I would definitely suggest emailing them back afterwards like Kaylee had on her presentation, because that just shows how interested you are in them. And it's a great way to continue conversations too if you have questions that come up after you initially talk to the recruiters.
Any other comments or last minute questions?
These are great questions, guys.
Well, if you guys have any questions, you can always contact me. My name is Kaylee McGinn again, and there's my email. I'm also about to send you an email, so you will again have information. But again, thanks for attending, and I hope to see you guys at the career fair next Friday.
Yep. And then Jared, I know you have the invite for the holder info session for next Tuesday, but Joseph, do you have that as well, or do you want me to shoot that your way?
If you can send it, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, feel free to invite your friends to that too if they're interested in holder. We'll have some other alumni from Purdue available for that call. So any questions that you have, we can definitely answer them.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
And if you have any questions too that come up before the career fair, or you're like, wait, I want to learn a little bit more about this, or I can't remember what to do here, feel free to reach out to Kaylee, Shayna, or myself too. We're happy to help.
Yeah, I'll put my email in there as well.
Yeah, I'll do mine too.
Great job, Kaylee. Thanks.
Have a good night, guys.
See you guys.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you. You too.